Hey, folks, welcome to my guest, the man, the myth, the legend, Dr. Michael Fratkin. Good to see you.
Nice to see you too, Scott.
How's everything?
Everything is complicated, interesting, and overall pretty darn good.
Nice. We have a lot to be grateful for.
Always.
We do. You know, it's funny. I was thinking about you coming over, and I'm going, I feel like I know Michael, but I haven't hung out. It's like you're somebody I know, but I haven't seen. Between COVID and just life and your business and the ARC, and we'll get to all that. So I always start with two questions. Who's Michael?
Who is me?
Who are you?
Well,
who are you, and what do you want?
I'm a father and a husband and a brother and a friend and a son. And I'm also a Humboldt County resident for nearly 30 years.
Wow.
Once I settled, this is where I came. I'm a doctor.
Mm-hmm. Saw you went to school at Irvine.
No.
Oh.
No.
Oh.
No. I went to school with Irving. But no, Irvine.
AI has it wrong, folks.
They totally
How could
have
this
it wrong.
be?
No, I went to medical school at the University of Utah, where I just had my 30th medical school reunion.
Yeah.
We can put a pin in that if you want to come back to it.
Wow.
But boy, that was interesting.
I bet that was fun.
And then, so what do I want? I want to experience life every day such that I'm infused with a sense of meaning, purpose, and then just for my own spectacular enjoyment, awe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm totally an awe junkie.
Wow. How do we get some of that?
It's everywhere.
It's
everywhere.
Everywhere you look, if you want it, it's there.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us the Michael story. How did you were born somewhere, and then you went to school, and then here you are. So give us that time mark.
Yeah. I was born in upstate New York, in one of the most difficult towns to spell, Schenectady, New York, just outside of Albany, New York.
I think you say Oneonta.
And then as I entered high school, my family started to shake and shudder, and we ended up relocating a number of times, once to Florida, and then where else did we go? We went from Florida to Austin, Texas. So I went to like 3 different high schools, which is kind of related to the whole reunion thing. I'd never been to any kind of a reunion because I never really had been connected to my high school class or college class or anything like that. So anyways, I finished high school in Austin, Texas, went to school for a year or 2 at the University of Texas. But then before my grades tanked, I wasn't happy and I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I shuttered everything up and hit the road, and I moved to Park City, Utah, where I worked as a ski lift operator. And then I traveled to Lake Tahoe, where I lived outside and climbed rocks for about a year. Then I returned and skied at the Rustler Lodge in Alta, if anybody knows that place. It's a pretty amazing place, Alta, Utah.
Alta. Okay.
And stayed there for a couple of years. And then I went to Alaska and fished on a salmon boat. Wow. Which taught me that I really wanted to go back to school because I am not that kind of a physical specimen where I thought that I wanted to work that hard with my body. And my brain works pretty good, so I decided to go back to school. Wow. I studied marine biology for a while, studied political science for a while.
In Utah?
In Florida and in Texas. Wow. And then ultimately I finished back in Utah. Once I decided I wanted to go to medical school, I went back to Utah and finished there because I had a whole community of friends and people there.
Sure. Wow, what an adventure.
Yeah, it was like 9 years to get an undergraduate degree.
Kind of like the backside of Benjamin Button when he went and did all that stuff at the end of his backward.
Are you comparing me to Brad Pitt?
A little bit, yeah, directly.
Oh my goodness, I'm a lucky man.
Glad you caught that. Yeah. Yeah, you and Brad. So who were you at 15? What were you all about? The nerdy teenage?
Oh my God, I had the worst hair anywhere.
Do you have a fro or was it long?
It's like a Jew fro. I had like a Jew fro. It's kind of like, it was like it flopped over to one side.
Nice. I didn't know that was a thing. That's a thing.
Oh, it's a thing. It's totally a thing. Totally a thing. And I was stoned like all the time.
Yeah.
I barely graduated high school.
Who wasn't? Yeah.
I watched a lot of TV, drank a lot of like, I think Mountain Dew.
Gross.
Really. And
I know about that with 9 kids. They'll
my teenage years were years of kind of involution, of like collapsing inside of myself and feeling so insecure that I just put out no risk at all. I took no risk at anything.
That's a well said occurrence. I think that is a thing.
People do that.
Involution.
Yeah. Involution. I turned inward. And somewhere along the line, I caught the idea that maybe there was more to life. I mean, it was a time when environmental pressures like reinforced my own sense of kind of hopelessness. It was a time when there were books being written about nuclear winter, where the nuclear freeze campaign was falling on its face, where the idea that we had mutually assured destruction with gajillions of ICBMs pointed at ourselves and each other,
right?
Such that a button gets pushed and it's all going to be over. I remember like hearing a car backfire or some kind of a sound in the environment. And I was like, that's where I went to immediately. Like it's all going to end in a bunch of mushroom clouds and scattered subatomic particles.
Yeah, because that's what it was.
That's what it felt like. Well, and so I was super down. I mean, a cause and effect, like I was probably super down anyways, but the sort of relationship between that kind of externalized sense of social hopelessness and my own feelings inside just made for smoking lots of bong rips.
Yeah. I wonder if that relates to today, to our kids. I see some quiet desperation that is similar, and I kind of wonder sometimes that they have a little harder time in some ways.
I know you got to put some articulate kid behind the microphone and talk to them, but because I don't really know. I mean, I look at my incredible daughter; she's almost 18. My son, 13. And
wow,
they're going through stuff, but they seem to have a certain je ne sais quoi, a certain kind of sense of less catastrophism than I can remember when I was a teenager.
That's good.
Yeah, they're both pretty.
That's a good. I put a pin in that. Let's get a good teenager on the show. A good teenager. I don't know what that looks like.
I won't volunteer my daughter because she'd kill me.
Yeah, no, she would.
But I'll ask her.
Yeah. Well, hey, never know. So tell us a story about how you got to Humboldt. Then what brought you here? How did you arrive? What'd you do when you got here?
There's a part A and a part B.
Sure.
The part A is when I was living in Lake Tahoe, climbing on rock with a friend of mine living in a tent. We had a friend who was going to South Lake Tahoe Community College, and he needed a ride home to Humboldt to see his parents over like some winter break, I think it was. So we gave him a ride.
Yeah.
And people who know Arcata Bayside will appreciate this, but his parents, who worked with Caltrans at the time in like 1985 or 1981 or 2. They lived in that incredible building right across from the Bayside Grange, which is now the hot yoga building.
Yeah.
And so I came with my buddy Billy and Chris, and we hung out in Humboldt County for about a week or so.
That's a historical site. That building was
amazing.
It was a school or a something.
I don't know, but staying inside of it and driving in through the fog and the mist and the amazing forests around here totally left a mark in me. And then a whole other bunch of life unfolded. And as I finished my training, I had to decide, where do I want to go and be? Where do I want to have my life unfold? And I wanted a place that was in the Pacific Northwest, had beautiful forests, rivers,
check.
Ocean,
Check.
And was far away from everything else, so that it wouldn't change so rapidly. The population was stable, maybe a little bit economically below average in terms of all the typical growth that you see in groovy towns.
Checking all those boxes.
Exactly.
It's not Santa Cruz,
No, like not exploding, not changing, not homogenizing like every place else.
Sure.
Left-leaning politics, check that box.
Double check.
25, 50,000 people, check. University.
Check. Check sibilance.
All that stuff had me recognize this place as home immediately. So when I got finished with my training, I went knocking on the door of the Open Door Clinic and Herman Spetzler and his wife Cheyenne.
Sure.
And
the legend.
Yeah. And I made them hire me.
Was he a cool guy?
Herman Spetzler?
Yeah.
Herman Spetzler was an extraordinary human being. Super brilliant, incredibly strategic.
Started a big clinic called the Open Door Clinic.
Was the only reason the Open Door Clinic has proliferated and now is really the backbone of healthcare for our community, primary care, specialty care, behavioral health, dentistry, all of that for people who may or may not have a bunch of resources.
Yeah, they were out at Ferndale Fairgrounds for the Veterans Stand Down today where they take care of veterans, and the Open Door dentist van is there, and quite a guy. And I remember as a college student being broke, getting care downtown Arcata at the old store.
Yeah, it started, I don't know how many millions of years ago during the sort of late stages of the Vietnam War. He and a bunch of other docs basically opened up in what is now the Tin Can Mailman right next to the Open Door Clinic.
Sure.
They had a few cots and they did draft counseling and that sort of thing for folks. Wow. And then they just did the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And now they're in Crescent City,
Ukiah, maybe?
No, not in Ukiah. Crescent City, McKinleyville, the North Country Clinic in Arcata, the Arcata Clinic in Arcata,
Eureka, the big
Eureka
one.
Community Health Center, the Telehealth Center also in Eureka, Fortuna Clinic, the Mobile Medical Clinic, Dental Clinic. They are the backbone of primary care.
I have to agree with that. Yeah. So when I met you, which was not meeting you, I saw you on TV 15 years ago.
Seriously?
You were telling your story on Access TV about being a palliative care guy. And you kind of gave the highlights and what you did, and you attended a lot of deaths. And can we do that? Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
I mean, coming up to resolution care, and then we'll talk about that.
Yeah. Well, I came to town as a primary care internal medicine doctor, which just means that my focus in primary care was on adults with complicated illness. I spent a lot of time staying current and capable as an HIV specialist when I first got here. But my heart was always in the care of people who were really, really sick. And I ended up, not too long after I got here, stepping into the medical directorship over at Hospice of Humboldt. Hospice and palliative care have just always drawn my attention. It's the kind of thing where I'm drawn towards situations where people are confronted by their mortality, where the shit is really going down. I'm drawn to move towards those things, while quite naturally a lot of folks are drawn to go the other direction.
To run. Yeah, fight or flight.
That doesn't make me any better. Maybe it makes me more, kind of into tension and conflict and drama. I don't know what the reason is, but I've always been drawn towards it. I worked as a emergency room tech in Florida, Tampa General Hospital, and one of my jobs was to gather information from people who got brought in by stretchers and trauma situations and all the rest. And so they'd be cutting off their clothes, they'd be intubating them, doing x-rays, putting in lines and IV infusion sites and all the rest of it. And the only place you could go to talk to these people, if they were able to talk, was over their head. So behind their head, while they're lying that way.
Upside down.
And I would talk to these people. I would ask, what's your name? Where are you from? What's going on? How are you feeling? Are you okay? It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I would talk to these people upside down, and it kind of anchored this concept that there's everything that's going on with people. There's their broken leg, their pulmonary contusion, their intra-abdominal bleeding, their surgical problem, and then there's the person inside of all that.
Wow.
And that was sort of critical for me to decide that I would go into the field of medicine, that I would ultimately train as a doctor. So fast forward, I always had my interest in people who were living at the sort of edge of mortality. And when I got here, I ended up working at the Open Door Clinic, but my responsibilities were for all of the folks that were some of the most complicated people, people with incomplete diagnoses, people that were progressively moving towards their death as a result of neurologic disease or heart disease or lung disease or cancer. And I got less and less interested in what was wrong with them than how they were navigating the natural human process of finishing a life. And so that became more and more my area of interest, and all the whiz-bang technical medical stuff became less and less of an interest. Palliative care is this beautiful, unique neighborhood inside of the modern healthcare system where the first, second, and third things that matter is who the person is and how they're relating to what's happening to them.
Wow.
So I describe it in kind of three ways. Number one, we don't take care of any patients. We only take care of people. We do that with other people in a fully staffed palliative care program that includes a doctor, a nurse, a social worker, a chaplain, maybe a community health worker, but a team of people with differing perspectives that kind of wrap around and provide a sort of 360-degree view of what's happening to the person with the cancer, the heart disease, the whatever, right? So number one, people, not patients.
Right on.
Number two, because the quality of the lived experience, the quality of life for people who are dealing with a serious illness or life-limiting illness or terminal illness or diseases or illnesses that are going to kill them, since their quality of life and their lived experience is so important to us, it turns out we're also technical experts in optimal symptom control. So the things that make you miserable when you're sick, pain, breathlessness, nausea, fatigue, or just the sort of psychospiritual challenge,
stress,
and grappling with the fact that life is not an infinite experience. So number two, symptom control. We're damn good at it. We take good care of people and their symptoms so that they feel as good as they can feel.
Right. Not afraid to give them meds if they need meds.
Not afraid to give them meds.
Yeah.
No. And not afraid to adjust those meds and try a little this and try a little that and finesse it so that they can balance out based on their own goals. How much medicine versus how much clarity, and they get to be empowered to kind of drive the nuances of their symptom
Pretty
control.
Powerful, empowering.
Very
empowering. I like it.
Yeah, that's the idea. So people, not patients, symptoms. And then third, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I'm going to say our healthcare system is kind of fucked up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
call it a medical desert is what we refer to.
Unbelievable. I mean, and that means that we don't have enough of some really fucked up healthcare structures. Right. In other cities where there's tons of that, let me promise you, it's fucked up. Our system is terrible. Our healthcare system does not prioritize individual human beings. It does not prioritize smooth processes and operations for the experience of the person with illness who's under stress.
Yeah.
It's optimized for the economic structures that drive it. I don't want to go off on a soapbox, but it really is problematic. So the third thing that I say we focus on is when people have very complicated medical illnesses, they always have really difficult human circumstances.
Yeah.
We don't take care of people with a bump on their knee and a rash on their nose. The people that we take care of in palliative care are seriously ill. They're confronted by either mortality or other kinds of significant losses and disability.
Sure.
And we help them to navigate through this crazy healthcare system.
That could be money or relationships or vocation.
Could be anything.
Yeah.
Usually it's a lot of information exchange, and then it's a lot of advocacy and making it easier for them to get from step 1 to step 2 to step 3, so they can benefit from the amazing technological advances that are out there in caring for their particular underlying disease state. But yeah, we focused for many, many years. I focused on people who don't have a lot of resources, who are burdened by being poor, by being mentally ill, by being substance abusers, by being whatever.
We're all about that. So to make your point, Joni, my wife, I haven't shared this with you because thanks for finally hanging out with me.
Yeah.
You
learn stuff.
Thanks for being my friend finally. Joni had a stroke 5 months ago. So, you know, maybe a little bit. Joni's a runner and a hiker and a competitive
and
cyclist.
a mom times how many kids do you have?
We have 9. I'm number 10.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Soon to be 10 grandkids, which is cool. So, we haven't seen each other for a while. I go, your 18-year-old was like 3. So, navigate this stroke that she had one morning in McKinleyville, and I had to go get her, take her to Mad River Hospital, and fortunately, we had a good, a slow ER morning and a doc that was decent. And but the care there and then the care after has just been night and day. It's just terrible, and just ambivalence and obfuscation, and we don't have your file, and oh shit, what really? Are you serious? Either A, you don't have a problem, or B, you have a big problem, because people were just.
From one person to another, from one shift to another, there's no coherence.
The handoff, and no one's answering a phone, and primary care. Anyway, so she's got a green light. She's starting to walk and run, and she was given 4 miles a day to walk, and now she cheated it. She got it up to 10. And anyway, she just got the green light to finally run.
Nice. Oh man,
couch to 5K.
I'm glad that the story direct pointed
the
towards
therapy's
her
back. Yeah.
Excellent recovery.
But the point is that. To me, is that she's the last person maybe in the county or the planet that should have had a stroke. It'd be all the fat asses like you and me that, maybe are not altogether healthy.
Yeah.
And so it could happen to anybody. But yeah, terrible experience.
It's so hard to make your way. Even if you just have a sniffy nose or an anxiety about maybe it's a COVID, you want some advice about whether you should take Paxlovid or shouldn't. Getting access to wise guidance in healthcare, even for the most simple things, is hard. And when things get more complicated and more grave, and the decisions become more critical and pivotal, most often the support for those choices that are yours to make is not there. Right. So that's a big part of what palliative is. So number 1, people, not patients. Number 2, symptom control, super important. And number 3, navigational assistance to be able to get the most out of the healthcare system, but also to do it on your own terms.
In a timely manner, you just highlighted when it's critical.
Yeah, a lot of people perceive me as a pain in the ass because I advocate and have advocated for decades that if the person in front of me would be in less distress by getting something done now rather than 2 weeks and waiting for the queue to do, I jump the queue, I cut the velvet rope, I call people and bug them. And there's some people who don't really like that.
They don't like that
but the
discretion.
People in the families that I take care of, they recognize that that's real value. That I don't have to be super smart, but I have to be willing to butt heads and push hard to get them what they need.
Will gets the grease.
Exactly.
So you've attended how many deaths and actually been?
Oh God, I don't know.
That's what floored me. And I realized we had a friend last night who lost her aunt up in Grants Pass. She passed anyway. So And it hit me hard. I go, you've experienced this not dozens, not even hundreds of times.
I guess I would say, although these last few years I've been in kind of less directly involved, but over the years in this community, I've been a part of teams that have cared for probably 5,000 people who've died.
Wow.
Which means that I've had something to do with maybe 3.5 other family members in association with that.
So maybe 20,000 people.
Maybe 20,000 people have some direct contact with the work that I've done, some touch from the work that I've done in the community.
How does that feel?
Makes me feel like I'm a part of the fabric of this place.
Yeah. 100% Humboldt, if you will.
You might say that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah.
No, it makes me feel like, I drive through town. I made tons of home visits over many years. And as I drive through this neighborhood, even this neighborhood actually around the corner, I drive past a house that I served somebody in the last part of their life. And if I go to the supermarket, I'm in wild berries, and there's two categories of people. There's people who come up to me in the produce section saying thank you, and they want to give me a hug. And then there's the other bunch of people that are triggered by my presence, and they're rushing and hiding in the pet food aisle to stay away from me. Either way, I know that I've had some substantial or meaningful impact in the community.
Any regrets in that practice? And what is it, 20 years here?
30. No, I mean, there's lessons I wished I'd learned the second or third time rather than the fourth time. Yeah.
So say we all. Yeah.
There's definitely choices that I made that I'd like to Back to the Future and reverse them.
If we could, yeah.
But no, I think I've been pretty earnest about picking myself up and being honest with myself and figuring out the things that life and these circumstances and the privilege of stepping into the bedside in those situations has wanted to teach me.
Earnest.
I think I've been pretty good about it.
I like the word earnest. That's a good word. So I just got back from my speaking of 30 years at a reunion. I just got back from my 45th reunion of. We weren't doctors. We were knuckleheads. From Sweetwater High School in National City, California. And I was voted prettiest hair.
You were not.
Oh, yeah. I had beautiful locks.
Did you fro?
It's no fro, long hair. Just long and with blonde streaks. And I was no Jufro. My friend Philip had a nice Jufro. But going back there and going with all the overweight folks that are all 63 years old. And it was really heartwarming. It was wonderful. There's some wonderful friends and people that you lose track with, and you see them every 5 years. But I want to hear your 30-year. So these are docs.
So
because
school. I moved around so much as a kid, and because I came in and out of college, changing my majors and everything else, there was never really a cohort of students that I felt a part of until we all walked in on day one of medical school, our 102 or 3 of us, and we started and we finished together, plus or minus a few.
How many dropped out?
Bounce. Oh, I don't know. Too many dropped out. There, one or two of them got injured along the way and ended up taking an extra year. A couple of them did drop out.
Is this University of Utah? Or
University of Utah, School of Medicine, top of the hill. And
wow.
So I'd never been to a reunion of any sort. And there's Utah's an interesting place. You may have heard.
Heavy Mormon, yeah.
You may have heard about that.
Yeah, that's come up.
Our medical school class was about 80% married, male, Mormon missionaries with kids. And then there's the men, male.
A lot of M's in there.
And there was a crew of us that were everything else.
You're the token guy with the fro.
I didn't really have a fro. By that point, I was cooler by medical school time. But yeah, no, the rest of us were sort of this eclectic mix of older students or students with different kind of unusual background and not a uniform sort of spiritual and religious kind of identity.
Sure.
So we hung out. So I've been in touch with that little crew of 5 or 6 or 7 of us, on and off. We have a little ongoing funny text thread with each other. But I'd never gone back to the reunions. So I went this time, and it was under attended. There was only about 9 of us that came in person to the rubber chicken dinner at the hotel.
Sure.
And then we got a little VRBO, our little crew of people.
Did your wife come with you?
No, she didn't. She stayed home. And it was intimate. So out of 100 or so students in our class, we had the opportunity to actually pull off the, how do you say it? There's a tendency to want to put your best foot forward and be impressive and talk about how happy you are and how great life is.
My jag.
Else. Well, we pulled the Band-Aid off of that one.
Good.
And we started talking to each other. And while my source of information is only this handful, what I can tell you is that 2 of us took their own lives somewhere along the line in the last 30 years. One of them I discovered by reading about him as an example in a story in what's called Stat News, a medical journalism piece. I was reading along about the distress and difficulties that COVID has placed on physicians.
Wow.
And they're describing this guy and his devastating kind of psychic experience being an emergency room physician through 2020 and 2021. They described how he asked for relief from his supervisors. He asked for a change in his schedule. He asked for this. He asked for that. He asked for support. He asked for time off. He didn't get much of any of that until he tried to kill himself, and he ended up in his own ER. They admitted him for a couple of weeks, started him on medicines. He left, and then 3 days later, he'd taken his own life.
Wow, sad.
And this was just a beautiful guy. And then discovered there was another one at this event. Discovered that there were 3 or 4 others that died of medical illness. Like, so what are you going to do? Roll the dice. This one had cancer. That one had this. That one had that. Those were surprising sadnesses, right? And then discovered that at least a couple of spouses died of drug overdoses. The guy I was sitting next to was telling me about his 24-year-old son who died of an overdose, fentanyl, and died of crazy meth addiction and such.
Crazy.
A couple of 3 people that I heard about left medicine to go do something else. And so it had us all in this kind of deeper reflective state and thinking about what has been the nature of this life. Oh, and one of them had this amazing story about delivering 2 orangutans at the zoo by cesarean section when he was on call for obstetrics.
Good story.
That's, so that was your regular
vet story.
Reunion story. They called him from the hospital and told him they needed help down there.
Come on down quick.
So he delivered a couple of orangutan babies by cesarean section. Crazy.
There's some movie like that where the couples get back together and they reflect on life, and
it's complicated.
Yeah, it's real complicated. They all had drama and different things that happened, and somebody knows the name of that movie. It's like 10, 20 years ago, but they come back together, and obviously I've watched the movie a lot. But it's all that. That's life. I really see that's anymore.
So that was what was great about my 30th reunion is that we actually really dropped in. That was the funniest thing. Like, I when I look in the mirror, I have this sort of internal algorithm kind of software system that makes me feel like I pretty much look the same as I always did.
You do. You look great.
But I know. Yeah. That's what it looks like when I look in the mirror. I got it all worked out.
That's how I got it.
But then I looked at all of these other people, and they've all gotten so old.
It's crazy.
My algorithm doesn't really.
What happened to you, bro?
Help them.
You're so gross.
So yeah. So it had me come home a little bit more viscerally thinking about aging. I'm 61 years old. I feel great. I got a lot of juice left in me.
Nice.
But it's a thing, this getting older thing, and this sort of the more concrete reality of aging and mortality is real.
Drove all around San Diego, to all the old landmarks, the hood, the restaurants, the beach, this place where we smoked weed, you know, to the beaches, to Balboa Park, and all of it had significance. And I purposed not to get too reminiscent, but to really kind of be in the moment and enjoy it with Joni, and it was fun. But yeah, I think it all
there's a little something like
it all like comes to some realization of aging, and
it's real.
No one gets out of here alive, it turns out. So
turns out that's a throwaway line, and it turns out it's actually a description of the kind of semi-hidden and plain sight reality.
Right.
We all live our lives, and probably ought to, as if it goes on forever.
Yeah.
But there's something profoundly appropriate that we don't go on forever.
Right. Yeah. So I have a bank president friend that prays for people, and he's a great guy, and he doesn't pray for healing anymore. He prays for quality days. May your days be amazing, and just live in that minute, that moment, that day. And I thought, John, that's a cool prayer, man. I'm going to pray that prayer because that's so powerful, you know. And so, let's go there. What are your top 3 takeaways?
We're there.
What are your 3 takeaways for living in the moment? what works for you when you have that awe? You mentioned the awe earlier.
Just let it in. Let it in. It's everywhere. It's in the grain of this table. It's in the sweetness of this water. It's in the empty red Dixie cup that I've had here. I used to have a little bit of cactus juice in it. It's in your eyes and mine, and it's right here in this present moment. Presence.
Yeah.
So that's, I guess, number 1. I have to come up with 2 more.
It's 1. I'm feeling the table. I'm getting into the table.
Yeah. It's nice.
Nick did a really nice table here. Somebody commented that on the last podcast. Hey, this is really, I can smell it's really fresh table. So whoever that was in the moment.
So number 2. Oh, the love that you can gather in your life, true and deep and honest and authentic, and all the many different ways that love can be exchanged between beings, and laughter and love and sex and friendship,
touch,
all of it,
thankfulness, gratitude. So
participating fully in the economy and exchange of love for other human beings.
Well said.
Presence, love, play, have a blast as much as possible.
Have some fun.
Yeah, have some bloody fun.
Yeah.
I mean, be respectful of the other people around you. You don't want to like step on their toes and splash mud in their face while you're having fun.
Not necessary.
But it's not really necessary. Yeah. You can actually call them in. You can combine presence, love, and mud together and have fun with people.
We're going to go get muddy. It's awesome.
Apparently that happened a few weeks ago out in the Black Rock Desert.
Oh, really? They got muddy?
They got muddy.
Yep, I bet they did. Who doesn't? Well, it's part of that show.
What? Did I win?
The bell. Yeah,
I won?
Let's see.
What did I win?
Oh, there's a prize in here for you.
So
this is the Humboldt quiz. Let's see how you do, because there's a fabulous prize in my box here. And
in that Dick Taylor
bag,
maybe? What could possibly be in there?
Well, maybe a sticker.
Could be a sticker.
You could put on your car.
Lollipop, maybe.
Lollipop.
Balloon.
some Cracker Jack. So when you get to go to dinner tonight, and I hit you with a credit card, whatever, money, where would you take your sweetheart? Where do you guys go to dinner? If you could go anywhere in Humboldt.
I'm going to dinner.
Are you really?
Yeah, with my sweetheart and with 2 of our best friends.
Nice.
And so that's what comes to mind.
Where are you going?
I usually go to like Jaffe's, and I go to like
Jaffe's?
Fa.
The one in
Arcata.
Are they
those
still
are like
good?
my two. They're probably
Those still
more than anywhere else. They're
good?
awesome. They're awesome.
Good.
Totally reliable and consistent. But tonight we're going to 511 right down the street.
Sweet. Delicious. Yeah. Nice. What do you have at 511? What do you think sounds good?
Don't they have like calamari? They should have calamari.
They have like calamari, yeah.
Do they have Casamigos Reposado tequila?
Almost certainly for you.
Good.
Reposado. Mucho gusto, amigo. So number 2, you get to go for a hike tomorrow. Anywhere you get the day off.
Bull Creek.
Wolf Creek?
Bull Creek.
Bull Creek, okay.
Bull Creek blows my mind.
That's Sohum.
It's on the way to Sohum.
Yeah, let me show you where it is.
Okay.
For you folks that are not familiar with Humboldt.
Over there.
And this never gets old. Nick loves this part. It's down in here in Sohum. Bull Creek. It's you're looking right at it.
I'm looking right at it, actually. I see it.
Joni's ran out there. They do the Avenue of the Giants down there, right?
So beautiful.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful, mature,
and that road is all jacked up now.
Yeah, because the trees came down and everything else, but they've got it all figured out. And Bull Creek is a special place, so don't go there. Yeah, because I like it when there's nobody there.
The weather here is horrible, folks. It's snowing today. It's awful. It's funny. One of the most magic days in Humboldt. It's like 80.
Oh my God, I'm sweating in here. Did you know it's hot in here?
I actually dressed for it. So
well, you have 2 layers.
Yeah. Well, the other is my Mormon T-shirt.
Is that a Mormon T-shirt?
No.
No, my God. No, I mean, what is the deal? Well, who wears T-shirts? Nick, do you wear a T-shirt?
Yeah,
Nick has a T-shirt
right there.
Yeah, but I mean, and then another shirt.
Well, I didn't want to wear my shirt.
It's so redundant. I never really understood that.
Well, if you're a hairy beast like you and I, it's kind of. I mean,
I've never worn an undershirt.
An undershirt.
It's just not my thing.
Okay,
it just seems overkill. Same thing with underwear.
Oh, you're flying free.
No, I'm not actually. That's a lie. I actually do wear underwear. I think.
Remember the Seinfeld episode with Kramer? Just nothing between us and him and a thin layer of gabardine. Good one. So,
did I win?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, there's still more quiz questions coming. So, what's a magic day in Humboldt? What would you do besides Bull Creek? How would you spend your day? Just a Michael day.
Oh gosh, a Michael day.
Self-care day
occurs essentially in my beautiful home. I mean, I bought a piece of property on the way up to Kneeland.
Nice.
In Greenwood Heights. Mm-hmm. It's 5 acres.
Beautiful area.
I was married in that home. Wow. And my children were born in that home. I married a couple of other friends.
Wow.
On the property. I've had amazing music, spectacular parties over the years. So my perfect day is I wake up before everybody else, like an hour and a half before everybody else, crank up the coffee.
Sure.
Go out to my little man cave, which is away from the house, where nobody can bother me. Make some coffee, have at least 1 cup, maybe get into the 2nd cup before I go in and jump aboard the whole train to get everybody at school and to work and everything else. Then I get rid of them all. They all go to work and they all go to school. And then I go back to my man cave, door open, cats on my lap. And I love my forest. So working in the yard.
Is there a hot tub involved in this?
No hot tub. Like every time I had a hot tub, it turns green and it annoys me. Yeah. Or rats eat the wires or whatever the fuck. But I've had like 2 or 3 different ones. It goes green, you know.
It does turn green. You gotta be careful.
Not like a maintenance guy.
It's overrated.
Water testing kind of.
Who wants to put oil in a car?
I'm just not really into it. That's why I got an electric car. No oil.
That's right. Don't forget to charge.
That I don't do.
Yeah, I understand.
Did I win?
You did. You did great.
I won.
Let's see. Oh, there is a small prize involved.
Oh, it's a sticker.
Look at that. Are you kidding?
It's just a sticker.
Yeah, it's good for something. I'll
all right.
Just give that. Can I slide that over to you?
Definitely.
There. You can wear that with pride.
Okay.
Yeah, great chocolate.
Boom. There's no chocolate in that bag.
Well, it remains to be seen.
Hit the bell again. Ask me another.
Let's see how you do.
Oh my God. What's left?
There should be some chocolate.
I gotta bring the chocolate to my wife. It's her favorite.
They're up in Seattle right now, competing for the first time since before COVID in the chocolate championship of the world.
They're gonna do great. They're gonna win the gold medal.
They're amazing. Just good guys and really cool. So we didn't talk about Resolution Care. So you did all this career, and then you started Resolution Care.
Crazy.
And tell us about what was that?
Cuckoo-ca-choo. That was...
It's remote. It's doing what you do remotely, right?
So in 2014, on the strength of burnout and frustration and indignation and complaining and whining and ranting and raving about everything is so broken and screwed up and what's needed is so simple. I took my one step up to the plate and built a business.
Wow.
And so Resolution Care was a team-based, comprehensive palliative care program giving care to human beings in their homes using whatever means for communication worked.
Sure.
Including video conferencing.
Zooming today.
What we call Zooming today.
Sure.
And I was the first to do it. Nobody else around the country had really figured out.
Is that all telemedicine? Does that fall under a telemedicine umbrella?
Yeah, sure.
Should be the phone. It could be the internet. It could be.
We call that telehealth, which
FaceTime,
broadly includes all the other different mechanisms of synchronous and asynchronous communication. So texting is asynchronous, or sending messages or emails, that's asynchronous.
Okay.
Using voice messaging and sending those off, that's asynchronous. Two communication happening at two different times.
So what?
But it's phone calls and video conferencing.
Okay.
Those are synchronous. Those things are happening in real time.
Yeah.
And so I pioneered the use of video conferencing based communication to provide care for super duper sick people in their homes.
Right.
And so we started that. Timing was excellent. Society thought that palliative care ought to grow. There were a number of legislative and policy opportunities. So the state of California mandated palliative care for all Medi-Cal recipients in the state at about the same time.
Perfect.
And we happen to have, I think it's pretty safe to say, the absolute best Medicaid managed care organization working to care for low-income folks in our community. The Partnership Health Plan is a fantastic health plan, a nonprofit health plan focused on the care of people depending on Medicaid.
Are they right over here in Sacred Heart, or is that where they?
Well, they're here. They're there. They
have offices everywhere.
They now have 14 counties: Del Norte, Humboldt, Mendocino, the other ones.
Yeah,
in the northern, in the 101 corridor, Lake County. But in January, I think of this next year, there's an additional 10 counties that are being given to them so they can manage the Medicaid lives in those counties. So they have about 750,000 members.
So our son Gabriel's Medi-Cal, he's got Downs and autism, so he's part of Partnership.
Yeah, and you know, say what you want about government-run healthcare, but Partnership shows up and they innovate and they work together with their provider partners. We're a provider partner to develop programs that deliver for the people under care, for the health plan, and for the providers. I mean, you got to balance it out for it to be sustainable. Everybody's got to get their needs met in a balanced and reciprocal fashion, right?
Shout out to Partnership.
Shout out to Partnership.
Right on. So question then, so did Resolution Care then replicate its model for other places and people?
Well, I mean, they were one of our health plan partners. They were our most important one. They were working together with the California Healthcare Foundation to develop payer-provider partnerships and some grant-funded things that got us started.
So the model was replicatable.
The model, we proved that it was replicatable. And to do that, it took about 5.5 years to figure out how to do it right so that I wasn't spending more money than I took in. Right. So when you're spending more money than you take in,
it's not good.
You need to either have a ton of money of your own, or you need to borrow
get
money or get some money from other people.
Yeah.
So in order to make it work over those years, I borrowed about $1.5 million from people who loved me. People, a couple of them were related to me, not many of them, but people that loved the work that we were doing, who pretty much figured that they flushed their money down the toilet.
Oh, no.
But coming into the pandemic in the middle of 2021,
What did the pandemic do to the model?
Well, I mean, it proved the model.
Right.
I mean,
yeah, it would.
We were on May 19th or March 19th, 2020. We were about 40% video conferencing for all of our encounters. On March 20th, 2020, we were 100%.
Wow.
And our team, our staff, our amazing, incredible people, they were, they had to adjust to it for a second. And for the first few months, they were kind of complaining, oh, how can we possibly care for these people without ever laying our hands on them? How will they know that we really are there for them? And then after about 3 months, they stopped talking about that.
So COVID proved the model.
Yeah. So all around the country, people were asking us, how do you do it? How do you do it? So I did a lot of teaching during the first couple of years of the pandemic throughout the state of California and nationally about how do you make this kind of telemedicine model human, personal, soulful, relational. How do you take advantage of the advantages that are within it? So I talked a lot about telehealth
put it
for a
in
long
a package
time.
and then sell it, give it away.
Well,
model it.
Because I owed $1.5 million, including my daughter's college fund. I wasn't going to give it away, so I had to sell it. And in the pandemic, a couple of potential buyers for the enterprise came our way.
Nice.
And I made a deal, and I sold it to the company that changed its name from Resolution Care. And was able to call up all those people who were dumb enough to lend me money and say, hey, guess what? Friday afternoon at 2:00, check your account. It's coming in with all the interest I promised you.
Payback.
And so I took a job with them for about 1.5 years, and we parted ways at the end of last year. So I am free.
Does that mean you're working or not working?
Yes. It does. It means I'm doing both.
I do a little bit of both.
Well, for a minute, I really wasn't. I had a little identity crisis. Like, oh my goodness, I miss all these people. I miss this particular project. I miss the role of leader.
Who am I? What do I want? Yeah.
But then I started to look around and kind of went back to the things that I've been most fascinated and awe-inspired by. And for the last 20, 25 years, I've been trying to build a bridge between the palliative medicine community and the brave souls that were pioneering psychedelic science research.
Ketamine?
Well, prior to that, there in NYU and Johns Hopkins and in UCLA, there were these early trials looking at the classical psychedelics like mushrooms or psilocybin, LSD, MDMA. The MAP studies were maturing around MDMA, or the drug that the kids call Molly or ecstasy, for the treatment of post-traumatic stress disorder. And all that science and clinical research was very slow to start, but once it got ahead of steam, really it has established an enormous amount of momentum and interest because it's safe. It's more effective than anything we've ever seen.
They say it works.
It works.
Yeah.
So I was trying to bring those researchers together with the world of palliative care, and the world of palliative care and just about everything in medicine is incredibly conservative. So it took a long time, but with Michael Pollan's book, How to Change Your Mind, and the Netflix series, How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan, and a lot of kind of generational transformation. The minds of the American populace are open to answers that can respond to the mental health challenges that we all face and the pain and suffering that people have.
Right.
And they're not naturally or viscerally afraid of the idea of how we might be able to use extraordinary states of consciousness, non-ordinary states of consciousness, as an opportunity to heal.
I think of early medical marijuana, and the same process had to happen.
Similar process.
It helped people.
But these are even more mysterious compounds.
Correct, yeah.
The experiences occasioned by these compounds alter a person's perception and experience of reality, of life, of the world. It's a big deal. I think that people who are approaching the end of their life and struggling inside of that should have access to these medicines. I think people who are well, who want to get more well, should have access to these medicines in different ways. So right now, there's a radical change in how healthcare is perceiving psychedelics, and I'm involved in that. Locally, I'm working at the Center for New Growth, a practice kind of organically grown by Dr. Carrie Griffin, who you should have on the show. She's
I think I talked to her.
You did?
Yeah.
Here?
No, I called her.
Oh, yeah. We should talk to her here with the microphones and the headphones.
With these?
Everything. Yeah.
Maybe I'd have a chocolate bar for her?
Maybe.
A sticker?
There is a chocolate.
We'll see.
It's a sticker in there, isn't there? That's all there is. It's just stickers.
It's hard to say right now.
No, but she can talk more and open up kind of.
She opened up that center, though.
She opened it up. And in fact, we have a ribbon cutting tomorrow afternoon, although this is going to be a delay for people.
Sure.
But we have a new office that we're sharing with Spa Social, or Social Spa, in Arcata, much groovier environment.
Social Spa.
And we're working in collaboration with a number of local agencies, Hospice of Humboldt, the Open Door Clinic, the PACE program, the VA Medical Clinic, to try and create ways to give access to ketamine-assisted psychotherapy.
This is ketamine focused.
Only because that's all that's legal at the moment.
How's ketamine work in your view?
It's such a complicated. We could talk for an hour about
But the trials, the studies are pretty conclusive, right?
It's so compelling.
In England, Joni was listening to a podcast, and
ketamine in combination with a strong therapeutic alliance and a psychotherapeutic model that places the healing over there in the person is a powerful intervention that surprised me.
Wow.
I thought that it wasn't really a psychedelic, or it wasn't really in the same category as a catalyst for healing as some of these other medicines that I'm more familiar with. But it is, and used well and thoughtfully inside of a container that sets intention and works to integrate the experience. It's amazing breakthrough, powerful healing.
Learned a little bit about it. Sounds amazing.
It is.
Yeah, I had a couple of friends. Hey, before we go, which means we're going, what do you want your tombstone to say? What are we going to say at your memorial? What do you envision? What would you like? First of all, what are the words on the tombstone?
I don't know how you spell it.
How do you spell it? I think it's A and a bunch of H's.
Maybe I have to put a little speaker in to say. But no, I just want to get to the end of my life and feel like my tank's on E, but I got exactly where I needed to be. I just want to be able to just go,
nice.
I have lived my life.
Left it on the field. Good word. Good one.
Exactly.
I love it. And I hate to talk about legacy because it's an overworked term, but so when we think of you,
this podcast, this is my legacy. This will last forever in
it could be
digital perpetuity. Thanks to Nick.
It'll be on YouTube. if Nick has anything to do with this, it's going to be on YouTube for a long time.
No, my legacy is in all of the people I've cared for, all the people I've taught. My children, my wife, my garden,
connection, relationships.
All of what I've left behind that resonates in other beings when I no longer am a being.
Good word.
That's how it works. That's actually is how it works.
That's how it works.
And whatever's created in hard stuff like concrete and buildings and stories that I captured in some kind of Word document or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
And the ideas that I had are not so special as to merit a great book.
Yeah.
That changes the world. I'd write a book if I thought I could write a book that hasn't been written before.
Right.
But I'm living a life that's never been lived before, and that's going to have an impact on people.
Good one. I like it. So the idea of a relationship investment versus a printed word or a a how-to video. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't mean much to me, actually.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, thanks for coming, man.
Pleasure.
It's great to see you again.
Thanks for having me. I really do.
Right,
Is there chocolate in that chocolate bag?
We're going to see here in a minute when
come
we're off
on.
camera.
Off camera. You don't want people to expect that there's a chocolate in it. You want people to stay mysterious about the whole thing.
Yeah, I'll surprise you in a minute.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks for coming,
Thank you,
Michael.
Nick.